just try to start, and very few people are there.
Good morning,
It's
Bhante.
Saturday, right? It is Saturday
Yes.
or Sunday.
What is special on Saturday?
For lay people, it's the weekend.
That is beautiful thing.
For us, it's here and now.
All right, it's here and now.
Huh?
Always.
That's the picture I chose for Bhante Sadajiva's talk about Dhammapada, where it says, make an island of yourself.
Ah,
So that's the thumbnail
Good
I
morning,
chose.
so made an island.
Right.
Bhante.
That's right.
We don't have to make an island. We came from an island.
Ah, that's right. You did come from an island. Okay. Let's see. This one. And this
Okay.
one. Oh,
What is this? Ah.
got it.
Okay, let us begin with the metta recital. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth. May all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision. Removing desire for sensual pleasures, one comes never again to birth in the womb. With this metta thought as usual, let us begin our mindfulness practice. We pay total attention to our breath without verbalizing or conceptualizing or trying to control breath. Let it as natural as it is. And then notice the breath touching our nostrils when we breathe in and expanding our chest lower abdominal area and chest area. I say this in this order because when the breath goes into our lungs, we first feel not the expansion of lungs, but the expansion of the lower abdominal area. And breath, lungs, diaphragm pushes down as the lungs are filling with air. And that is what we notice first. And then when the lungs are full, we experience the fullness or expansion of lungs area. And then as we breathe out, we notice the contraction of lower abdominal area, and then chest area, and both are contracting. And then we notice the breath leaving our nostrils. And this is happening all the time when we breathe in and out, whether we are aware of it or not. Being aware of this, we gain knowledge of more activities taking place while we are breathing in and out. That is, our feeling arises and falls, our perception arises and falls, volitional formations arises and fall, consciousness arises and fall every time we breathe in. Similarly, while we are breathing out, again, feeling, perception, thought, and consciousness rise and fall. This happens so quickly, even in one single breath. All these five appear. In single breath, we experience the breath as, as naturally, and we feel the breath, we perceive the breath, we have attention to the breath, and we are conscious of the breath. In one breath, we can notice all these five, what we call aggregates taking place, rising and falling. Aggregates, this is the way to see the aggregates: form, feeling, perception, thought, and consciousness. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. You don't find them anywhere else in any other form except in this experience. And they rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall all the time. And then the desire to cling to anything also rise and falls. You see, when we notice this, our breath becomes relaxed, the body relaxes, mind relaxes. In this relaxed state of mind, we gain more calm, peaceful awareness, and the greed or uh, clinging, craving temporarily subsides. And then, as the body and mind relax, our rigid uptightness, rigidity also fades away, and then metta feeling, we feel, we feel metta feeling. And then next moment, along with this, so to say, our compassion arises and restlessness and worry leaves our mind. They will not be discernible in our mind. And then our mind becomes more active, and it is not kind of agitation, but we gain more enthusiastic, more interested in the practice, then sleepiness and drowsiness will no longer be there during that time. Seeing all this, we gain confidence because from our own life, from our own personal experience, we see the benefit of this practice. Then doubt fades away. Not only doubts about our practice, about this reality or the truth, Dhamma, but also we will gain deeper confidence and trust in the Buddha. We will have faith in the Dhamma and Sangha as well. And then doubt fades away. When all this happens, joy arises, seeing the results, seeing the benefit from our experience. And then happiness arises as a contentment, and then we gain better tranquility, peace, and then gain concentration. When we gain concentration opens up our mind to see the deepest changes taking place in the body, feeling, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness. And this gives us full awareness of nothing permanent in this body and mind. So, on the one hand, our desire temporarily fades away, our resentment or anger temporarily fades away, our notion of permanent self fades away. And we want to establish our awareness in this reality of impermanent, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness. So let us continue our practice. dukkha pattaja nidukkha, bhaya pattaja nibhaya, soka pattaja nisoka, hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. With this very noble, pure thought of let us try to spend the rest of the time focusing our mind on the answers that I give to the question that Brian will ask me.
Um, the first question is contemplating the same as reflecting?
I think reflecting has more uh, active state of mind. Uh, we generally give an idea, an opinion to somebody and ask them to reflect on them and then write down something. Normally, that is how the word reflection is used. Uh, there may be some other nuance, but concentration, you ask reflection and contemplation.
Contemplating, yeah.
Contemplation.
Mm-hmm.
Contemplation is more close to concentration. Even the tradition is called contemplative tradition. Uh, there, I think you all know there is a Christian Catholic order which is called contemplative order, which means that they spend uh, time, quiet time, uh, by when in a very strict traditions, they don't talk with anybody. They spend time by themselves, alone in their own area, so uh, monastery. That is more uh, meditative state. Reflection is as I understand, has some active state. Uh, but contemplation is creative. That is the difference that I understand. It may be we have to look up in the dictionary to see the precise meaning.
Thank you, Bhante. Um, the second question is, how do we contemplate the 32 parts of the body? Do we imagine how the organs look?
That's a very good question. Uh, how to contemplate the 32 on 32 parts of the body is a very specific meditative state. Uh, probably I like to spend a little longer time explaining this. This is called particular manasikara. Particular manasikara, when you hear the word, uh, some people who understand this might think that we have to focus our mind on the uh, ugliness, dirty state of mind. In highest sense of particular means particular means going along with the current, going with the current. going against the current. It is against anukula. Anukula means going with the current, with the grain. Particularly is going against the grain. Uh, Before I take each part separately, I want to explain the general meaning as I understand. So, particular means going against the grain, against the current. What is the anukula? That this body is beautiful and or ugly. Beautiful or ugly. Eyes are beautiful or ugly. Ears are beautiful or ugly. Hairs are beautiful or ugly. Lips are beautiful or ugly. This is how generally people look at this body. I mentioned uh, these few parts. Uh, the 32 parts doesn't talk about eyes, ears, lips, and so forth. They talk about head hair, body hair, nail, teeth, and skin, the visible, five visible parts. In the original list, there were 31, but later on they added another part to make it 32, even number. So, and people practice this in order to get rid of their lust, greed, attachment. So sometimes it can have very, very negative uh, results. In the discourses we can see in Suttas and Vinaya, Buddha gave a sermon on practicing mindfulness of the body, which includes 32 parts of the body, 32 parts. And it is said that some monks practiced this and they found, because they were going against the, or going with the current, thinking that this body is ugly, 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 this part is ugly, 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 that part is ugly, 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 this part ugly, 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 very loathsome, loathsome, ugly, loathsome. They keep practicing this. Then some monks, it is said that one monk felt that body is so ugly, he felt as if a very handsome person or beautiful woman uh, feels like carrying a dead carcass around her neck or his neck. So even they probably might have thought of a smell, imagine smell also, because it is so ugly to them. And this particular monk was so upset that he thought of committing suicide because he doesn't want to live in this ugly body. So he went to a person called Miguel Andaka, and he said to him, Venerable, uh, you do me a favor. I'm putting in my own words, uh, but the story is true according to the text. This body is ugly. You do me a favor, you take my robes, arms ball, my razor, and with this razor, you cut my throat. That monk, that was a sham monk. He first hesitated, then he thought of the benefit that he get the robes and arms ball, he can sell in the market and make little money and start some business. Thinking of these things, he agreed to cut his throat. And then he found this was somewhat profitable. So he went from kuti to kuti, asking monks whether they want to attain enlightenment very quickly. And he said, I can send you to enlightenment very quickly. So many monks agreed to this, and he cut their throats and killed them. Buddha, after giving this instruction, went for his own personal retreat. When he returned, he found many monks missing. Then he found out what has happened. Then he immediately called the monks to an assembly and reprimanded them and taught Anapana Sati Sutta. So this is what happens when you look at the body in the way of uh, no unusual, unmindful way. The 32 parts Buddha gave us, included in the meditation, Satipatthana Sutta and so forth, not to develop hate towards the body. If you keep this body thinking this body is ugly, 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 you naturally come up with hatred. You hate the body. That is not the purpose of this practice. The practice is to see the body exactly as it is. It is neither beautiful nor ugly. It is just made up of mere elements, four elements. And these elements in Mahatyapadopa Sutta, Rahulova Sutta, and so forth, Buddha said these elements, external elements and internal elements, are the same elements. Internal elements are made of external elements. If external rock is ugly, internal rock hardness also should be ugly. But we don't think so. We don't think we can sit under a tree, against the tree, lean against the tree. We don't think the tree is ugly or dirty. And tree is made up of four elements. This body also is made up of four elements. So the body, I give you my very favorite simile, example for you to understand this better. Suppose you have a very beautiful hair. You go to perhaps hairdresser. He or she will put a lot of shampoo to clean it, to get close to the hair. And then he or she does whatever they want to do with the hair according to your whims and wish. And then you come home with a clean, beautiful looking hair. Very beautiful, clean. With this hair, you you take a bowl of soup. You are not wearing cap or mask or anything, just you are eating soup. Then one of the hair falls into the bowl of soup. What would you do? You throw away the whole bowl of soup. Why? Hair was in that. Now, this hair on the head was very beautiful. It gives you a lot of pride and so on. And in a fraction of a second, when you see the same hair in your arms, in your soup bowl, you throw it away. How can it become so ugly so quickly? When it was on the head, it is beautiful. Next second, it became ugly because your way of perceiving it. You perceive the hair is beautiful one moment. Next moment, when you're going to eat the soup, that hair is ugly. Your perception. When we practice meditation, we don't go by this kind of emotional reaction to anything. This is not just uh, intellectual analyzing like atomist. This system is not just like atomists keep analyzing, 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 analyzing. Or this is not something you become, call is ugly, beautiful, attached, and so forth. None of these emotional reactions or intellectualizing. We want to see hair or any part of the body exactly as they are. 32 parts of the body. Uh, there was a monk, Venerable Sariputta's disciple. Sariputta's disciple also was full of lust. So Venerable Sariputta asked him to give him these 32 parts or 31 parts, according to original suttas, to practice, to get rid of his lust. He took the subject and sat under a tree and tried to focus his mind. His lust increased, not decreased. In the other story, as I mentioned in the time of the Buddha, when Buddha gave this instruction to monks, they found it ugly. This monk found it beautiful and his lust increased. So he came to Venerable Sariputta and said, Venerable, say it doesn't work for me. Venerable Sariputta said, no, 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 go ahead, practice. That's a very good subject. You are full of lust and you can get rid of that. Second, third time he went back to the forest to practice this, focus on this, practice on this meditation of 32 parts of the body, or 31 parts. Each time he had this problem. Then finally, Venerable Sariputta took him to the Buddha. Buddha is the only one who can give exact subject to fit the person personality. Nobody else can do that. Nobody else can do that. Only even Venerable Sariputta could not do it. So he took him to the Buddha, and as soon as Buddha looked at him, he said, this fellow cannot gain concentration by focusing mind on 32 parts or 31 parts of the body. So he rather gave a lotus flower, beautiful lotus flower. Some people say Buddha created lotus flower. Buddha did not create flowers. People came to see him with flowers every day. And there were a lot of flowers around him. He picked one of them, very fresh, and gave to this monk and asked him to take it. And there was a pond, and sit down there, stick the lotus flower in the ground, and focus the mind on this lotus flower. And while he was focusing on the lotus flower, he saw it is fresh, water dripping, color is very beautiful color, and fragrance is good fragrance. And all this he was watching, and slowly, 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 in this sunny place, this lotus, while he was watching, slowly withered away. Petals withered and faded, fell down, the stalk withered and bent down and fell, whole thing fell on the ground. Then he understood impermanence. And then it is said that he focused on that, he attained enlightenment. So 32 or 31 parts of the body is used for that purpose, to understand how impermanent they are. It is just like a scientist taking a little piece of our body, let's say little piece of our feces, and put under very powerful microscope, and using his very clear eyesight, he looks at this little piece of feces, and he will see He does not close his nose and say, this is ugly, this is this and that. Nor does he become attached to it. He simply wants to see it exactly as it is, to find what is in there. What is in there? He takes notes and see whether it has cancerous cells or AIDS cells or too much sugar, too much iron, too much this. He can see them exactly as they are. Similarly, Buddha wanted us to see this body, every part of the body in and out, exactly as they are. Friends, this body, any part of the body, is constantly changing, constantly dying, and constantly renewing because of oxygen. That is why inhaling and exhaling is called Kaya Sankhara, body conditioner. Every part of the body needs oxygen. Every tiny little cell, every subatomic particle in this body, whether they are 32 parts or 50 parts, it doesn't matter. Every part, every cell, everything needs oxygen, because everything is constantly changing and dying, changing and dying, changing and dying, impermanent. That is what we have to understand using these 32 parts or 31 parts of the body. We don't look at any part in the body, inside or outside, with the attitude, with emotions, to see that it is beautiful or that it is ugly, or we are not analyzing it in the way of atomists do, but we see them changing, changing impermanence, 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 impermanence. That is the best thing we can do with this body, any part of the body. And therefore, I like to actually, I'm glad you asked me this question, because there is a great deal of misunderstanding of the body. So, asubhanya, asubhe subhasanya. This is asubha, then people think it is subha. Both are conventionally acceptable practice. Buddha goes against this. Subha, asubha, uh, dukkha, sukha, all these are mundane conventional things. We call something happy, and for somebody it is not happy, it is not, it is suffering. For one thing, somebody, something is beautiful, it is not beautiful to another person, and so forth. These are variable according to people's way of perceiving it. And therefore, Buddha did not go by all these things. Buddha wanted us to see things, and we repeat this many times. We want to see things exactly as they are, and this knowledge is called Yatha Bhuta Jnana Darsana. Yatha Bhuta Jnana Darsana. Bhuta is not something existing, that is not something fixed, not something fixed. It is rising, falling, rising, falling, rising, falling. What exists is rising, falling, rising, falling, rising, falling, appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing. You bet anything in your mind and body is rising and falling, rising and falling. This is the very message we get from focusing mind on the 32, as I said, 31. In the original list, there was no feces. Feces was not in original, but in later teaching, feces also added. Since there was no place to add the feces, they added it after brain. Oh, brain is added after feces. No, feces was there. I'm sorry. Feces was there, brain was not there. So brain after feces as a part of the body. So the discourse says these parts or and any other things in the body, and therefore using that permission to add anything other than this, the ancient teachers have added the brain. That's perfectly all right. So we have now 32, very even number. Uh, the body is divided. In fact, if you learn biology these days, and you will see this body can be divided into many, many more parts. It is not the part that matters in this practice, but how these parts are, how they exist, and what happened to them. What happened to them. And they are always changing and changing. That means they are impermanent, and the impermanent, we want to see the impermanent nature of everything, including our brain. Brain is impermanent, and everything else is impermanent. That's what we want to see. Okay, friends, I spent quite some time answering this question because this question is very important, and I don't think I went overboard. You asked, how do we contemplate on 32 parts of the body? In order to answer this question, this is how we contemplate. Contemplate to see its true nature like anything else in our body and mind, both mentality, materiality. And last question, if there is anything.
This person would like to know if it's possible for a person to cling to their anger and resentment or hostility toward a person without properly working on letting it go.
I think the word clinging is not correct, but I think what you are trying is just the opposite. You are trying to reject rather than clinging. You have anytime you remember the person, your mind tries to reject. Anytime you remember somebody, you can incident, you want to reject it. The mind does not want to hold on to it. Mind wants to reject. However, however, you don't know how to handle it with mindfully and more rationally. You may have reasoning. You may reason everything in your favor. Whenever you have resentment towards somebody, you always you lose your balance. You always uh, reason out in your favor because you are ignorant. You are ignorant of you are much attached to yourself. You are attached to yourself and reject the other, and you always want to justify your own way of doing or behaving and thinking and arguing, and you always think that the other person is wrong and wrong and wrong. This kind of dichotomy polarize your attitude, and therefore In order to get rid of that resentment, uh, Buddha said, don't repeat that incident again and again and again. Way, don't repeat that incident with that emotion. You have to settle down your mind, calm your mind, and look at it more realistic way. Realistic for ordinary people, anything is realistic. But according to Dhamma, your realistic way is uh, to see impermanent. The situation was impermanent, the person was impermanent, argument was impermanent, whatever happened was impermanent. If you see impermanence very clearly from all directions, from all aspects, then it is very easy for you to let go. You have to think of your karma, that person's karma, your attitude, that person's attitude, your mood, that person's mood, and how important it may be very trivial. And trivial, slowly you build up like a snowball effect. Slowly you build up and flared up and made it a very big thing, and it gets stuck in your mind and you cannot break it up. So it is not clinging. It is you are keeping, you are rejecting, never accept anything in the other person. Other person is 100% wrong. You are 100% right. So long as we have this kind of polarizing thinking, you think that I'm attached, I cannot get rid of it. I know some people have uh, sometimes children abused when they are very young, very badly abused. As they grow up, they cannot forget it, and then they keep hating that person. No matter how much psychotherapy they go to and how much medicine they take, they keep harping on the same theme, not trying to reduce it. The Buddha's method is just the opposite. That means you must learn to forgive, forget, to practice metta, to see impermanence, understand the nature of karma, understand the nature of ignorance. And these are the things that the Buddha used. That is why he is called a universal physician, Visakha, universal doctor, what do you call the practitioner, and Salakata is a surgeon, physician and surgeon. He tried to look at the problem and look at the way how to solve the problem. To solve the problem is not in the other person's mind or behavior, but in our own, your own mind and your behavior, your way of thinking. With these friends, it can go on and on and on, but I like to bring this to an end, this discussion, answering questions, and keep asking questions. I try to answer them as much as possible. There may be many questions that I may not be able to answer, but some questions I try to answer. Not giving full answer, but I try. Now we started with metta and want to end this session with metta as we do every day. May all those who are in pain and suffering be free from that pain and return to their normal life and live long in good health to practice them and liberate themselves from suffering. There are others, some of them are my friends, who also grieving the death of their loved ones, and I hope they understand Dhamma, practice Dhamma meditation, and be able to relieve their grief. and return to their very normal life, continue their Dharma practice, and attain liberation in their practice. And there are some others who are in hospitals, doctors and nurses are trying to help them, dedicating their life, devoting their life with wonderful intention, compassion, understanding. May they continue to do their service and wish them not to have any more, if any more, what do you call, virus from the patients and live long in good health. Others who are supporting in many ways financially also continue their wonderful service and live long in good health. There are some leaders who have, some of them have done very wonderful job, and proportionately the when you take a ratio of the number of patients and the people who died is very, very satisfactory. And because of their very far-sighted decisions, and let them continue that service. And other leaders who are still trying in their own way to help people, may they have wisdom, understanding, determination, and compassion, and to make right decision and quickly bring this virus down and end it. With this, I want to wish you all very peaceful and happy day, and also want to thank you for participating in this and encouraging us to continue this service.
Sadhu.